Mr. President, you have always been an advocate of an East African federation, and when you addressed your party congress a few days ago, you again declared that federation was the right answer to the problems of East Africa. Yet you also said that it would not come this year or next. Would you expand on this apparent contradiction? Mr. President, you have always been an advocate of an East African federation, and when you addressed your party congress a few days ago, you again declared that federation was the right answer to the problems of East Africa. Yet you also said that it would not come this year or next. Would you expand on this apparent contradiction?
Well, I don't think there is any contradiction at all in advocating a federation and saying it's not going to come this year or even next year. I think this is merely a question of assessing the speed at which we are likely to achieve this objective. Last year we did, in a very hopeful mood, I think we were going to achieve a federation of East Africa before the end of the year. But we have some experience of what is happening in the discussions. And I have a feeling, judging from the experience of the past, the rate at which we have been discussing federation, that it's going to take very much longer than we had expected. And that's all really I meant when I said it's not likely to come this year. It may not come even next year, which means the assessment is it's now going to take very much longer, but remains the true answer to the problems of East Africa.
Is there anything special that is holding it up?
I think merely the problems of independence. You know, I did argue as early as 1960. I did argue that if we wait until we become independent and then try to federate, we shall find that the independence itself has brought in problems. And I think I'm being proved right. I wish I had been proved wrong, but I think I'm right.
You mean that you're getting further away as independent countries rather than closer together?
If we're not careful, we'll find that the tendency will be to get further away, and therefore you need much arguing to stop this happening. You know, it's going to take much longer.
You implied that the delay in federation was impeding the development of Tanganyika more than that of the other East African countries. What had you in mind to combat this situation?
Well, first, perhaps it's good to get the situation. The situation at present is that the three East African countries are very close together with a common market and common services. And to a small extent, you have in East Africa the problem that arises between the more highly developed countries and the less highly developed countries. We happen in this group to be the less developed country, and Kenya in particular, the more highly developed country. So that given the common market in particular, if you don't have a central authority, a central government, then development tends to follow development, and which means in this case development tends to follow Kenya, tends to go to Kenya. So how do you balance this? You've got to have a central authority sufficiently powerful to do it, and that's why we felt in the long run federation is the answer. If federation is not coming, then we in Tanganyika feel that you may have to have the kind of organization that the Europeans have, a common market which has some tariffs, which are gradually being abolished, because if you don't have this, the weaker countries really go on being weaker, the stronger countries go on being stronger.
Would you as a last resort consider leaving this common market?
It is not necessary. Quite frankly, I think it would be wrong for any of the countries to leave the common market. I think what is proper is that we should base the working of the common market on the same kind of basis as the European common market, where I say you have tariffs and you are gradually removing these tariffs to a position where there are not going to be any tariffs at all.
Turning to another point in your speech to the Congress, you scotched rumors that you were about to resign. What did you see behind this rumor mongering to take cognizance of it?
Well, it is a question of psychology. The rumor mongers must have something in mind. It's a question of causing instability. It does happen that heads of states or any government, if a government must be believed to be firmly in position and not changing every morning, changing a government. So that if you create a rumor which says the president is going to resign tomorrow, well, this creates the feeling of instability in the minds of people, and it had already created this feeling. The rumor mongers wanted to do this.
Peking and Moscow read into your appeal to Britain for troops last January the most sinister motives, which of course have been proved totally untrue by the departure according to plan and their replacement by units from another Commonwealth country, Nigeria. How long do you now envisage the necessity for foreign troops on your soil?
I can't say how long. Again, I think it's mainly a question of psychology. We have disbanded our 1st Battalion. This creates a vacuum which was filled in by the British. Now this vacuum is now filled by the Nigerian troops. Again, I say it's a question mainly of psychology. Well, we have said that we have asked the Nigerian troops for a period of about 6 months. At the end of this, we shall see.
Now, you are host to trained bands of guerrillas or freedom fighters, and you have on your doorstep the People's Republic of Zanzibar, where an arms build-up is taking place. Are you confident that you will be allowed to remain at peace and non-align yourselves?
I'm quite confident. Attempts may be made from those interested in taking part in the Cold War to stop us being non-aligned. Attempts will be made, but we'll make a jolly good attempt to remain non-aligned. At least I can say that.
You don't fear that Zanzibar may start to export revolution?
Why? I have no such fears.
Finally, Mr. President, could you say a few words about your 5-year development plan, to which you also referred at the party congress?
Well, I don't know what I can say about the 5-year development plan. We are going through a 3-year development plan, which was our first attempt to try and plan. It wasn't a very good plan. We are now in the process of finishing our 5-year development plan. It's going to be much more ambitious. It's going to be much more carefully thought out. It is the first plan which is going to try overall planning as against the previous one, which was really an allocation of funds to our ministries over a longer period. I can't say very much more. In this, we are going to try and really aim at more production and with a bit more emphasis on industrialization.
Would you say that it was a mark of your confidence that you're going ahead with this plan?
Well, certainly. I certainly have confidence in Tanganyika.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You implied that the delay in federation was impeding the development of Tanganyika more than that of the other East African countries. What have you in mind to combat this situation? You are host to trained bands of guerrillas or freedom fighters, and you have on your doorstep the People's Republic of Zanzibar, where an arms build-up is taking place. Are you confident that you will be allowed to remain at peace and non-align yourselves? Peking and Moscow read into your appeal to Britain for